Jason Rubin, cue the applause. We got him.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Yeah, so I am back, thanks. I'm not fully fit yet, but Jason did an awesome job yesterday covering it for me. Had a minor problem, I'm sure you guys could tell if you were on this side of my face. But we'll breeze past it because this is a big enough story that I had to just get all my strength, come in and talk about it. So, surrounding the news media, first of all, get in there! That was my immediate reaction.
What did you say, get in there?
Get in there.
What does that mean? Like
It means
you're...
get up you.
Oh, okay.
So like, it's an immediate reaction that I had when I just like my fist pumped. I was like, get in there.
Oh, that was your raw...
That was my raw reaction.
Did you believe it at first?
I mean...
Or do you think it was just like, this is Twitter blowing up over nothing? Like, did he actually step down?
Well, I knew that something happened in terms of like, he had a press conference, and I know that just after being announced as president, it was something serious. Right? So this is the first question that I know many of the audience will want to know, and I was just going to throw it to you and talk about it. So, in my perspective, there's three things that caused this. Right? One, it's a very elaborate, over-the-top attempt to get himself back into the Champions League final. Oh, I'm done. I'm done with FIFA. Can I get my seat back so that I can watch the Champions League? Number two is that he wanted to have his final dig at everyone and be like, you know what? I'm untouchable. I got myself into power. I can now step down. Fuck everyone. You guys didn't throw me out of power. People still voted for me. I'm back in enough, so I'm done. And then number three, which is probably the most realistic case, well, I'm hoping the most realistic case, is that there is something ready to happen. The shit is about to hit the fan, and that fan is a very ugly, old, corrupt face.
Yeah, so I agree with... Obviously, number three. I want to agree with number one that he was just wanted to go see the Champions League final so bad. He was so hurt about it. He said, I'll just give up presidency, get a nice seat. They probably have great seats at the Champions League finals.
Awesome
and you'd hope that if you're getting bribes of $10 million plus that you would not be put in the nosebleeds.
Yes.
So number three makes the most sense because and there is a chart, which we'll get to it a little bit later, but another one of his vice president was proven, Jack Warner.
Yeah.
There was a letter that came out, $10 million bribe accepted. Obviously, it has to link back to Sepp Blatter, and he must have decided, or somebody must have told him, a PR person or somebody trying to protect whatever image of himself he has left, to say, do the right thing, step down before you have to maybe face jail time.
Yeah.
This might have saved him from facing jail time altogether, but those are the questions I really have for you is, what's next? What happens now?
Well, that's what I was going to say, and I wasn't just going on my phone to be rude and send text messages during the show. I was actually going on to read you guys The Guardian, who is a very trusted source. You should go there. They have a fantastic live feed that is telling people all about what's happening in the FIFA world. And so, as we know, whistleblower and world-renowned scumbag as well, Chuck Blazer, who's taken bribes before. I mean, this guy's not innocent. Just because he's telling people what's going on, he's not innocent. So I'll let you know.
John Oliver referred to him as Bad Santa.
Bad Santa. Yeah, that's very good. John Oliver is amazing, man. I just want to be John Oliver. All right, so Chuck Blazer. Big news breaking at the moment. Chuck Blazer, this is through The Guardian. This is just 30 minutes ago. So, I mean, by the time we get this up, there might be even more. But at the moment, all we can do is give you the news. So he admitted that him, along with other FIFA executives, he's not dropped names yet, agreed to bribes for the right to award the 2010 World Cup to South Africa. That was kind of news that we knew about. This is a $10 million transfer that went through FIFA funds that only Sepp Blatter and his vice president and next in line financial executive had the right to sign out over. So that's what people are basically predicting. That is what Sepp Blatter is worried about coming out, that he either signed this off or he knew about it and allowed it to proceed.
They have proof.
Yeah, so, and then next up, which is a little bit more surprising for me, Blazer claims that the 1998 World Cup in France was involved too. He said, I agreed with other persons in and around 1992 to facilitate the acceptance of a bribe in conjunction with the selection of host nation for the 1998 World Cup. So, incidentally, Morocco lost out to France in the bid to host the 1998 World Cup, which may discredit theories that FIFA scandal is a plot to discredit non-European football powers. South Africa beat bids from Morocco and Egypt. Morocco actually lost out on bids 1994, 1998, 2006, 2010. So the Morocco are fucking furious right now because they are looking into it. All their bids have been gone forth. And this is something that is very surprising that I need to bring up as well. So basically, there's been mixed reactions from all around from the FIFA world. So we know that African nations have basically stood with Sepp Blatter, and they think that it's a Western power trip, basically. And they're trying to return FIFA to the days in which Europe was the central hub of FIFA, and that's what people are saying, that they're trying to turn it back. People are saying that Blatter did a great job of having FIFA be more of a worldwide sort of company that tried to adhere to the needs of all these small nations. How do you adhere to the needs of them? Oh, we give them bribes and we put the World Cup in those areas. So as much as I don't want to say that I want the FIFA to be focused just on Europe, that's what mainly most of the teams are. So mostly all of the big leagues are, I'm afraid. But obviously you want to give other nations a chance, but give them fairly, not through bribes.
Right, and the other thing that is, if you're going to host a World Cup in a nation or a country that is not of football's elitist status, like Europe, like places like Spain, Germany, England, of course, then give it to a country where they check out on a few levels. This sounds like common sense, but like they have the infrastructure to build and maintain the stadiums, and there's a plan afterwards. For example, if you're going to host a World Cup, maybe there should be a push for an Olympics so you can use those stadiums. Again, makes sense. And two, if they need economic support, instead of how FIFA worked under Sepp Blatter, there should be some form of, we can give you a World Cup. In addition to that, we can give your country a little bit of financial flexibility. It's way more complicated than just the idea is, oh, have a World Cup. You pass go, collect $200.
Yeah.
It's more along the lines of, obviously, how the financial plan would work for them and in their favor.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. No, do you want to give it to Europe every single year? No, but should they get it more often than not, maybe 85 or 80% of the time? Why not?
Yeah.
Like how many countries? I feel like every country in Europe can host a World Cup easily.
Yeah.
Italy, Spain, France, England.
Yeah, it's because
I want it here, personally, United States, but
they're the hub of most of the major leagues, so they have all these stadiums that are able there and be able to hold the capacity of a World Cup, as we know many people go to watch it. The next point that we want to talk about is it has been announced that the FBI are opening up investigations now to the 2018-2022 World Cup, and I have to stress that I do feel somewhat sorry for Qatar as a nation as a whole, because we know that the higher-ups, if they are involved in bribes, then they have got this nation's hopes surrounded around the World Cup. And it could perhaps bring more light to how good of a nation Qatar is. I've never been there. I don't know, but all I can look at, as you were mentioning, is the infrastructure's not there because they're killing themselves, literally killing themselves, trying to build these stadiums. The climatic environment that we need to perform the World Cup in its month of origin is not there. We have to move it to the winter. And based on what we can see is it wasn't a fair vote at the moment. That's just my personal agenda towards it. I don't think it was fair. I think that anything Sepp Blatter was involved in, or this corrupt FIFA organisation was involved in, is not fair at the moment. And that's why I said in the earlier clips, it's going to be a domino effect. Now we have the 1998 World Cup investigated. Now we have 2010. Brazil, I already spoke about this. They did not exactly thrive economically from this World Cup, and there was many questionable things that happened. Building a stadium in Manaus when there's no transportation was a questionable decision.
Right.
Was that right as well?
That Manaus Stadium is now a parking lot?
Yes,
I believe.
And also a hub for birds to take shits in the world's most expensive toilet, as John Oliver said once again.
One quick question, and then I do want to throw to the structure of FIFA scandals, because it's really interesting from the Washington Post. We can play a game of indicted, convicted, or resigned. So, first off, my question really for commenters, and I guess for you, if the United States won the 2022 World Cup, do we even investigate Sepp Blatter in FIFA? Or is this, in part, a longer investigation? I don't know if we have the answers to these yet, but is this part of a longer investigation that even if we did win in 2022, we still wanted to take down this guy who's terrible human being and corrupt?
I think you still need to investigate that, and I think that would even be more so some investigation for the U.S. as well, because we look at how many of these cases now are involved in the United States. We haven't even heard as much more detail about the 2016 Copa America that's going to be held in the United States. That was basically one of the reasons why many of these officials are being indicted, because there was a lot of bribes that were passed for, I think 150 million, more than a third of what it would take to host a tournament in the United States. So if the 2022 World Cup went to the United States and then this came out about 2016, I think, yes, of course, you have to continue to investigate. And I think every World Cup under Sepp Blatter's influence, this is ridiculous because it spans back 17 years, but this is, I think, how corrupt and how engraved this man's reign was in terms of corruption. I think he was involved in a lot. I'm not saying every World Cup was unjust, but I think he had his claws in a lot of these competitions. And one interesting one I want to know of is obviously the one I mentioned about, is it 2002 in Korea? Were the referees bribed as well? Because that's where it's going to go to next. And we've talked about it with Ben, and Ben's like, this is the thing with corruption. Everything that such as like your Jack Warners or anyone else is involved in is going to be looked at. Everything they did was not illegal, but because of this, every single aspect of their professional life needs to be looked at, and their personal life now, and they deserve that. They now need to be held accountable for every decision that they made, because when you're given that responsibility to direct this beautiful game that generates so much money and so much happiness in the world, and you take it in a negative light and you put it into areas based on how much you're going to get in your pocket, you deserve to be investigated for every single thing. So it is amazing to me. This live feed on The Guardian for the past 3 days has been like my Harry Potter Chronicles. I've just been reading it. I'm like, oh my God, is this true? Is this true? And you can't take everything. Take it with a pinch of salt. Do your own research out there. There's plenty of websites. We're going to do our best to bring you as much of it as we can. But I know you wanted to talk about the structure and basically look at
Yeah, so Matt Bonesteel, for great name, great name, for the Washington Post, made a really trusty and handy chart, which kind of does make you visualize where and why these officials were able to take their bribes and what the structure of FIFA was. Obviously, Sepp Blatter on top, resigned, said Tuesday that he will resign as FIFA president. Directly beneath him, Jack Warner allegedly received $10 million bribe from the South African government. Almost an hour after this article was published, there was the letter from the South African government, which we also have. I'm not going to read it all for you, but literally from the South American Football Association proving that he accepted that $10 million bribe. So back to the graph real quick, just to get to the bottom of it as well. You can see the vice presidents, which there are a lot of, and of course the other executive committee members, where there were former that are still going to get brought into these scandals and investigations, rightfully so, because some people might think like, oh, the 1998 World Cup was so long ago, those guys are probably off the hook. If they were 80 years old at the time, they're obviously not probably around anymore, but they're not off the hook. And those are the people that they're going to go to and might be the ones who talk. Yeah. So I think it's like you're going to hear Jack Warner's name come up a lot, you're going to hear Valek's name come up a lot, and of course you're going to hear Sepp Blatter's name come up. Yeah. But I think as we go through this, somebody from the last 20 years is going to talk. Yes. And that, to me, is going to be the most interesting make or break point for this entire scandal, is who sits down and speaks the truth about what happened. Because we know, just like there's books on the United States financial crisis in 2009, and of course the Great Depression, and any major financial-related crisis or corruption or scandal in the past, there's going to be many books written about this in the future. And it's kind of interesting now because we're directly in the middle of it, and only more information is going to come out. In terms of what we can assume and to summarize what's going on with FIFA is that everything that Blatter and his executives touched basically is now going to be investigated. And you mentioned it before. It's going to be a long process, guys. This isn't going to be and with Blatter resigning, it's not going to suddenly change. And this is what I said. It's not going to suddenly change, but you change something that is now investigated for its discrepancies and its corruption, and you put a new face in front of it. You put someone like David Ginola, who said he's going to run for it. And yes, there's people out there who are saying that Michel Platini, who Ben calls Michael Platini, Michael Platini, who says that I don't think he's the figure that I would want to see either, because there is reports out there that he voted for Qatar, that he perhaps could be involved in some way. There's nothing concrete there, but I would like someone fresh. I would like a David Ginola. I would have loved it if Luis Figo came. And Figo, who's been very open and passionate about his views. There's Zico, one of the most miraculous footballers we've ever seen, Brazilian, said that he would be, now he puts himself in because it's an open race. He wants someone to come in there to change the face of FIFA. So two things. One, I want to go to the odds. Which is, of course, you can bet on anything. Yes. Our good friends over. Now, this one wasn't at Paddy Power. This is from William Hill Sportsbook, but Paddy Power knows you can literally bet on anything. So Platini at 6-5, Ben Hussein 7-4. It seems like, I mean, to me, and Greg Dyke, who Football Association, which mentioned yesterday, has a lot less chances. Luis Figo, you can see here, though, out of all of that and all those names, Prince Ali just ran. Yeah. Prince Ali didn't come close, but he still gained about 74 of the Federation's vote before. Why would he be a good or bad FIFA president? Well, this is a thing that I just sprung to my mind, and it's probably going to join the book of a million conspiracy theories. What happens if Platini, in his conversations with his friend Blatter, told Blatter to go and run
then resign so that he could then take his place, rather than Prince Ali gone. It's a game.
That's really funny because I actually wanted to do a whole clip on the idea of FIFA being Game of Thrones.
I'm sure someone's already did it.
Game of Thrones is a show about power, and right now FIFA is an entire organization about power.
Yeah.
So another interesting tidbit regarding this entire scandal that I'm really interested in comes down to like how change is going to occur and how quickly it will, because similar to how when Bush left office in 2008 when Obama was elected, it wasn't like the day Obama got elected, a big day for change, big day for hope, political views aside, by the way. Like, it wasn't like when he stepped in that day, change was happening today.
So people probably did expect that to happen.
People, of course they did. When you run on campaign slogans and and this is the same that's going to happen for FIFA. We might see FIFA campaign ads that we'll get to run. I guess my question then becomes, is there a chance that there could be somebody worse put in charge than Sepp Blatter?
I don't think so.
Or does it not get, we've hit rock bottom?
I don't think so.
Fight Club status, we can now go back up.
Yeah, I think so. That's what I said in my previous clip with you, is like, when they voted for Sepp Blatter, how could they imagine that it would get any worse with someone else in charge? Because right now, we've faced the biggest scandal that the game has ever faced. Ever. So there's nothing else to compare it to. I mean, the only thing that can come in is if someone else comes in new and is actually a new guy called Sepp Blatter, who looks very much like the Sepp Blatter 79.
Pep Blatter, maybe
he
Jeff
might come in.
Blatter.
That's the only way that things could get worse.
Francis, we have one more extremely funny thing to go to.
Okay, I'm ready for it.
You play FIFA, the video game.
Ever since Sepp Blatter's reign, I've been really bad at FIFA.
Been really bad at FIFA. So it's Sepp Blatter's fault that Francis is losing to the true Geordie. But there's been, of course, the internet loves memes and loves to make news. So for FIFA 16, there's new box art.
Nice.
Here's the PlayStation 1.
Awesome.
I wish when you opened this game case up, that's what actually happened.
But then you'd be investigated.
And then I'd be investigated. Very nice job there. And then these, I think my favorite's the one on the left, the Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, that's amazing. Everyone.
By the way, do you see on the bottom of the right one, brown envelopes, prison mode, tournaments in unplayable conditions?
Very creative. You got to give points for people for how. This is when the internet does nothing but amazes me, is when things like this happen. And there was memes everywhere. There was comments. Everyone can check them out. We'll leave some links below about how the world reacted to Sepp Blatter's resignation. My own tweet, I'll still promote it out there when I talked about there's been not as many cheers for a resignation since Maggie Thatcher removed herself from power, or was removed from power. And that was one of the ones that came straight from my heart, because that affected my country. This affects the game that I love so much. So I just loved the fact that he basically came out after this and resigned. But it's not done yet. I want to know what happened.
His resignation was like the second biggest story that occurred yesterday.
Yes.
Because in 1987, yesterday, Ken Griffey Jr. was drafted first overall for the Seattle Mariners.
I was wondering how you could throw back into baseball at that point. I was waiting for the... did I get it right? Is it baseball?
Yeah, it's baseball.
Yes, got it right. Okay, awesome. We want to know what you guys think on this issue. Of course, the comment section is what drives these clips, because we love to interact, especially when it comes to FIFA. Thanks again for putting up with me not being there yesterday. Jason done an awesome job.
Promised he'd be back.
I promise I'll be back. I'm like Harvey Two-Face here. I'm trying to hide this one part of my face. But make sure to comment in the section below. We'll do our best to comment back to you guys. Tweet us at Francis_Maxwell, at JasonRubin91, and at TYT Sports. Come back again and subscribe.